In today's episode of the vlog, I'm going to give you a Scottish reaction to Netflix drama The Crown. Hello folks, how are you doing? Welcome to the vlog. My name is Shaun. I am a YouTuber from Edinburgh in Scotland, and in today's episode we are talking about Netflix drama all about Queen Elizabeth II, The Crown. I started watching The Crown about a week ago and I've managed to get through the first 5 or 6 episodes so far, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of give you my thoughts, my recap as a Scottish person. I give a Scottish reaction to Outlander, the show all about Scotland. The Crown is also relevant given that the royal family is not only the royal family of England, obviously they are the monarchs of all of the UK and indeed the whole Commonwealth, which Scotland is very much a part of. And first of all, before we get into it, I would like to say if you are new, I would very much appreciate if you would hit the big red subscribe button down below so you can keep in touch with all my videos. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the rest of it. Right, okay, The Crown. I think this is an interesting one for me and potentially conflicting. A lot of people are just actually fascinated about Scottish people's thoughts on the monarchy in general. I really think we should be distinguishing between the royal family, the monarchy, the real monarchy, and the Netflix drama The Crown, because one is a fictitious drama, albeit based on the real life facts of the royal family, and the other is the actual royal family. So I will be giving my thoughts on both, because I think it's very relevant, but also we should be separating the two. I've actually asked a lot of people on Twitter, and for example, what Scottish people thought of The Crown, and a lot of them just dismiss it outright, won't even watch it because it's based on the royal family and they have political views based on that, and basically won't even give it the time of day. Whereas I, even though I am ambivalent towards the royal family, you could say, very mixed feelings, I am open to the fact that it's a historical time period drama, and in that sense it's very interesting. The royal family is relevant, and like we get to know more about their background simply by watching a show like this. So despite of my own kind of feelings towards the royal family, it will not stop me watching a show like this. And onto those feelings, as a Scottish person, I think Scotland is very divided on this issue, and it's not even drawn on any clear lines based on independence, the issue of Scottish independence, which you guys will know happened in 2014 and is a continuing discussion in households today. Because even among those who supported independence, there is a very big divide between people who are royalists and people who are definitely not royalists. And I fit somewhere probably in the middle of that. As I say, ambivalent is probably the right word, conflicted. I mean, you have to remember, even Nicola Sturgeon, the head of the SNP, said that in the case of an independent Scotland, the Queen would still be head of state, much like in a similar fashion to the rest of the Commonwealth, Canada, Australia. A lot of people don't realise this. The Queen is the Queen of the United Kingdom, also the Commonwealth, so a lot of countries around the world, she's very present, very active, and is still considered head of state. It's very complicated, guys. That is a fact. But in Scotland it's even more complicated, because as I say, regardless of what side of the fence you sat on during independence, that didn't necessarily mean that you thought one way or the other about the royal family. But the royal family does get very fair criticism in Scotland, and I have total sympathy with that. But I also see the benefits they have brought, the royal family in general have brought, not only just to the UK, but actually Scotland as well, so there's a bit of both. Yeah, it's an interesting one. For people who are not in Scotland or not in the UK, it is a curious case. What do Scottish people, what do they think of the royal family and the monarchy and the Queen? I can't give you a clear picture, it's very mixed. I think one side which was shown in the series, which kind of brought up some personal feelings that I dislike.
Lahore is the capital city of the Pakistani province of Punjab. It is the second most populous city in Pakistan after Karachi. Should I keep going?
No, do not keep going, Siri. Siri thought I was talking to it. Anyway, as I was saying, the part that I dislike is very much the aristocratical side of it. There is a lot of aristocracy in the United Kingdom in general, with very powerful, wealthy families who have got titles, dukes, and all that kind of stuff, spanning generations, hundreds of years of these families that have this quiet power in the background in the UK. They have this money, they have a lot of money, and they have titles, they have a lot of land. And those people, those aristocracy, they have power in Scotland as well. They own a lot of land in Scotland. They own a lot of big estates, and it's something that a lot of people in Scotland don't fully understand. There's just something about that whole system that I just don't like and I don't feel comfortable with. That kind of power that these people have within the UK, which is very much unspoken. It's something I would kind of like to investigate on a personal level. I actually know, and I've met a lot of people who are part of that aristocratic side of things. There's almost something very secretive about these types of families. They're very close to the royal family and very intertwined with the royal family. And it's something that I just wish was probably a bit more transparent. But anyway, that is for another video, maybe not even for a video, maybe that's just something that I'll keep in the back of my mind. Let's get on to The Crown, the series, right? I think it is really, really good. I have watched 5 episodes so far and I've really enjoyed what I've seen.
Do you suppose I might borrow it for a couple of days? Just to practice.
Borrow it, ma'am? From whom? If it's not yours, whose is it?
Principally because the acting has been very good. And by the way, they have spent a lot of money. Netflix has spent apparently somewhere in the region of $100 million per season on this series, which would make it the most expensive Netflix series ever. And I noted in an article in the BBC last week that the series has cost more to produce than the actual Queen cost the UK every year. Of course, that only takes into account the Queen's allowances that she gets every year. That does not take into account the whole royal estates, security and foreign trips and all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting fact, they're spending a lot of money and it shows. It's just been so well done, it's been greatly produced and all the finer details have been paid really great attention to. The cast they've put together for this has been great. And as I say, what it gives you as someone like me who's kind of interested in time periods from the past that we will never get any other good look into, it gives us that glimpse into that period of time that documentaries just don't do it. Books don't even really do it for me because I'm not a big book reader. The show has been very accurate on a lot of side of things, which is really great to see. They have paid a lot of attention to the real story of the royal family and got a lot of things right. I have been particularly fascinated in the relationships between politics, like Winston Churchill, who was the Prime Minister in those early times of Queen Elizabeth II's reign, and her upcoming towards becoming the Queen. Those relationships, those interactions between Winston Churchill and the Queen, and where the power really lies, I think that's something very relevant for everybody in the UK.
One must draw a line in the sand.
And the job of drawing that line falls to Cabinet, ma'am, not to you. Something your dear late papa would certainly have taught you had he been granted more time to complete your education.
Although those exchanges between what we see in The Crown and the Queen have not been totally fair and accurate representations, because really nobody knows exactly what is said in those meetings between Prime Ministers and the Queen, although they do happen on a weekly basis even until today. The Prime Minister, by custom, meets the Queen every single week and discusses all manner of things that we do not know about. But in the show it kind of depicts the meetings with the Queen and Winston Churchill, who was a famous British Prime Minister, a very strong-willed character. I think one of the things that's made those interactions so great has been the two actors, John Lithgow as Winston Churchill and Claire Foy as the Queen. They have just made it so realistic and so lifelike, and actually it's made it into a kind of story that we believe actually happened as it was. They too have been tremendous. Great acting, and they've really set the scene for us. But it has been interesting, like that interaction between the Queen and the Prime Minister and where the power lies. You could see in the beginning, the early relationship, that Winston Churchill, obviously a very powerful political figure in the UK, very much tried to assert his power onto the Queen. In The Crown, the series, right? Tried to assert his power, which at first worked, and then was pushed back on eventually as the Queen realised her powers, if you like. I thought that was just so fascinating, that interaction, and I really wish I knew the real life story behind those interactions. I think that would be fascinating. And between the Queen and all of the politicians that she's been involved with over the years. I think that's a real nitty-gritty parts of the Crown, the royal family, that we would like to know. And another thing I think has been great is actually taught me a little bit about the history of the Queen's family, who went before her family who were in power before her and died of various different illnesses. I couldn't have recited all of those facts off my head to anybody before watching The Crown, so the series alone has done that and has been great at basically just giving myself and the viewers a very accurate timeline of events of how things happened, the abdication of the previous king, his brother George taking over. I want to say my favourite actor, my favourite character so far has been Matt Smith playing the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip.
Just lay down the law. I know he's Winston Churchill and all that, but remember who you are. You're
Nobody.
The Queen of England.
He has just been absolutely tremendous, and I think probably portrays quite accurately the real life man, Prince Philip. In real life, a massive character that a lot of people who follow the royal family, and even those who don't, know a lot about. But I think this show, The Crown, has given us an insight into the struggles he must have faced in his early years, marrying the Queen, marrying Elizabeth, basically having to give up his life, his career aspirations perhaps, I don't know what they might have been, but as a man of high standing in society, he would have had them, and basically had to give most of them all up. Of course, he went into another life of his own adventures with the royal family, but the show The Crown did very well at exploring the difficulties he faced, and obviously the actor Matt Smith is incredible. He's done a great job, formerly Doctor Who, obviously. I just think he was a perfect actor for this.
Are you my wife or my queen?
I'm both.
I want to be married to my wife.
I am both, and a strong man will be able to kneel to both.
I will not kneel before my wife.
Your wife is not asking you to.
But my queen commands me.
Yes.
I beg you make an exception for me.
Duke of Edinburgh is somebody who's well known around the UK. I think one of the things I found fascinating, and is actually a vlog I want to talk about one day, is Prince Philip's famous gaffes. He goes around life and basically says exactly as he thinks. And sometimes those thoughts are very un-PC. And we can see that in the episode when the Queen and Prince Philip go on the tour to Kenya. There is no actual record of him saying the things he said in that episode of The Crown. But there is record of him saying many more things which are quite incredible. On the other hand, he has said some things around the world which you might think are self-entitled, arrogant, British as well, and just not funny. So there's two sides of it, the very, very funny side of Prince Philip and the probably not so funny. But I think for sure that has been a great side of The Crown, the show, giving that relationship between him and the Queen a big airing and basically setting the scene for us. I think it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. I didn't expect to enjoy it. As I kind of touched on earlier on, I am not a big follower of the royal family. Basically, I don't know a lot about the history either. I've never really brought myself to look into it, just because I've not really been interested. I've never really found the royal family that interesting. I think part of my ambivalence towards the royal family, as I said before, is more the fact that I have just not really been that interested. Like, I couldn't really care one way or the other. The Queen costs apparently £2.71 per year per person in the UK. It's not that much money. But then when you consider other things about people starving, and I don't know, there's a big balance there. I think there are bad and good sides of the royal family. I think the Crown has done a good job so far of showing those sides. I think the great thing about it is it hasn't been through the royal family's official approval process that they usually go through with all the media and stuff. So we're getting a very creative and unfiltered view of the royal family. If the royal family did have any say in the show, there's a lot of episodes already that I've seen and a lot of conversations between family members that would not have been allowed, never, ever, ever. So I think that's been great. Overall, I would give the show so far, from this Scottish person, a thumbs up. I have enjoyed it immensely. I would recommend it to anybody, whether you are a supporter of the royal family or whether you hate the royal family. It's an interesting historical perspective and look into a family which, one way or another, has been important in the context of the United Kingdom over the years. So I would definitely advise anybody, from Scotland or not, to go and watch it. A good show, very good programme by Netflix, and I can see why they have went with this. But anyway, those are my thoughts. As I say, I did ask some of my followers on Twitter what they thought, and I specifically asked for people who were Scottish to give me their views. And here are some of the responses that I've got on Twitter. I'm going to read them out from my phone. Susan says, think it's an interesting and enjoyable watch. Think the acting is superb and will miss the main cast after season 2. So that's a bit of a spoiler for me and for anybody else watching, that after season 2, obviously the royal family ages, so that they will be changing the cast. Elaine says, I am enjoying to see why they do what they do, often not because they want to, but because it's what is best or what is expected from them. Jack McMagpie says, the acting is amazing. I'm not in the slightest royalist, but it is really good. I think that is the indication why people should watch it. Waiting for S4 says, I am part Scottish, I love it, does not always frame the family in a positive light, while other times it does. John says, it's actually very good, particularly the second series. It was obviously not sanctioned by the palace, and that's why I liked it. John, I totally agree with that comment. So there you are, a few reactions from Scottish people over on Twitter. If you'd like to get involved in the discussion, please do leave your comments down below. What do you think of The Crown if you've watched it? Whether you're Scottish or not. Either leave your comment there or send me a message on Instagram or send me over on Twitter where the discussion is continuing. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends and family. And yeah, just enjoy the festive period if you're still on holiday. I will speak to you again really, really soon. Take care.
It's freezing!